explains that, quote, despite over a century of intensive studies, no mosquito species is able to specialize on.
I'm JD, and I moved from Alaska to Portugal after I paid $15,000 to buy this old house that has sat empty for years. Now I'm in the process of renovating it on a budget in order to return it to its former glory and welcoming you on the DIY journey. Now as I'm plastering the earth wall, it'll be pretty much the same concept as with the lime plaster, just this will be clay. Online there's a wide variety of recipes. I think kind of just owing to the fact that clay is a natural product, so it varies from region to region. I've seen everywhere from 1 part sand to 1 part clay to 3 parts sand to 1 part clay, as well as straw mixed in. Just like with the lime plaster, I'm going to try it without straw or anything, because it'll pretty much just be a top coat, so it won't be too thick. And this clay already has a decent amount of sand in it, so I'll start with just adding a little bit at a time till I get about the same consistency as I had with the lime plaster. And just like this wall, the clay is just dug up from the ground here. Luckily there's a very high clay content. The clay does shrink a lot as it dries, so that's generally why you put like the straw and stuff in it. But this clay, this is just the pure clay where I patched it, and there's just some cracks, but it's not too bad. So I think with just the sand it'll be okay. And you can also add lime to it to make it harder, since clay is kind of soft, but this clay is actually pretty hard, and this isn't like this is just a back wall. It's not like a high traffic area, so it should be fine just on its own. So now I'll just change into some old clothes and get started. So I ended up moving some into another bucket to make it easier to mix. Added quite a bit of sand and even some more water. And I think it's probably a good consistency, and you can see it's pretty sticky. So it should be pretty good now. It's holds. So I'll just spray the wall down to get it wet, and then it'll be the same process as before.
This first part, in it, you'll become familiar with your sport envy, learning how they work, what they eat. You'll appreciate their beauty, trust me, their complexity, their cunning, and their strategy, and the history. And then next week, we're going to tell you how to stop them from feasting on your exposed parts. Also, sandflies. They each transmit some parasite friends of their own. But yeah, first on the list, by a lot, is mosquitoes at 1 million a year, with over 200 million mosquito spread cases of malaria a year.
So I've sprayed it down pretty much enough that it stops absorbing everything right away. Since it's dry clay, I could probably spray it forever, but I just sprayed enough so it wouldn't absorb all the moisture from the plaster right away. And now we're ready to plaster. So I'll just do a little bit here in real time and then switch it over to a time lapse, because it'll probably take a while.
When people are like, should we eradicate all mosquitoes? I'm like, hold on, they're out of the 3,700 species we have, only a certain amount of them are able to transmit.
So how many mosquitoes are our quiet nemesis that we don't understand, but we feel obligated to hate? We know maybe it's rash, and that is not an itchy pun, but we must be allegiant to our own skin, right? So how many are enemies? I checked into the evidence of medical importance, and it turns out that the majority of mosquitoes are screaming from their tiny knife mouths. Only 2.5. The jury is still.
So I think I'll actually add a little bit more water and
would be 9.8%.
start back.
It is a huge question. Like, what are commonalities with mosquito? Is it just the long legs? Is it the bloodlust? Is it the proboscis? Like, what makes a mosquito mosquito?
So a few things. So mosquitoes are in the order Diphthera, which are the order that all of our flies are grouped into. So Diphthera is grouped for 2 wings. So it refers to the characteristic set of wings that they have on their back. That's what gives us flies. Proboscis, which they use to pierce the skin and extract blood. And this adaptation is unique to female mosquitoes because it's essential that they blood feed. That blood is necessary for egg development. In contrast, our common housefly have these sponge-like mouth parts which they use to sponge up liquid.
What about their feet? How do they pay for their feet? Are they covered in shit all the time?
Well, they have happy face, and yes, no, it is not. And so what they do is, if it tastes good, that's when they'll drop their mouth part, has sponge at the end. Wow.
That's the dictyrology episode, and while mosquitoes are flies, we're honing in on pulsatology specifically. And according to the National Institute of Health, yes, mosquitoes are houseflies.
For feeding host, and so that is using that makes mosquitoes.
Are some of them down with humans, or are they like, if I can pierce it and suck it, I will?
So you do have mosquito species that will feed on reptiles and amphibians, and you have some that are sylvatic and
Are non-humans, like birds and mammals. They're zoophilic, and others want mostly you, and are amphiphilic. But this study also found that a Harvard Neal, specialist of annelids, broadens known mosquito host use patterns. And it explains that, quote, despite over a century of intensive studies, no mosquito species is willing to specialize on friends who only drink cider in their natural wines. I have others who would happily enjoy a room temperature gin out of a solo cup.
I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
I wonder how the proboscis.
So I ran out of sand, so I ran to the hardware store to get another bag. And for once, the price of something has actually gone down. It was only $1.99, and it took a little longer than expected. So I'll just wet down everything and mix in the sand. So I ran out of clay. There's still a little strip at the bottom, but so far it looks pretty good. These spots, if you're wondering, that's were the holes for the frames when they were making the wall. The plaster is still on it, so I was kind of using that as a thickness gauge. I did do this plaster a little bit thinner, but this isn't really sticking out very much at all, so once it's painted, it'll be fine. So I decided to do the last little bit in clay. I think because this went so far, it's such a small amount, I just went ahead and dug a little bit up, and since I didn't tape how I actually like prepped it before, I figured it'd be a good excuse to show that. And I also realized I need to, like this, I need to chip off, and then the corners, I need to fill in better. Alright, I got the clay that I dug up, and I'll just put it in the bucket and mix it with water. Not as much water as I did before. And since I had to add water back to the mix, I know I don't need to let it dry out nearly as much as I... So hopefully it won't take long. Hopefully I can just let it sit overnight and then pour off the top layer of water, and then it should be good. So here it is, it's set for a while. The bigger chunks definitely need some time to absorb the water and so that they're easy to break apart. And then since this is still pretty thick, I'll probably just use my hands. And there wasn't many rocks in this one to begin with, so it should be fine. So got the new batch all mixed up. Definitely purely just going on feel as far as amount of sand and water and everything. I feel like that method worked really well, so that's good to know for the future. I don't have to spend forever waiting for it to dry out. it's all done. It looks pretty flat. There's not like undulations or anything too bad. I'll just let like all the corner stuff harden up a little bit, and then it'll be easier to clean up. So I cleaned up the corner here, and I tried just testing out smoothing it with a sponge, and I'm not sure how well it'll show up on camera, but it did seem to work pretty good, and I should have done it right away. I don't know why I was waiting, because it's just going to add more moisture to the wall and take longer to dry, but and it's already actually pretty hard, so I should have just did it right away when it was softer. And so I'll just set it to a time lapse and smooth it out. So as far as like a review for the clay plaster, I really liked working with it. It's also great that there's like essentially an endless supply for free. And I really like the flexibility of it. Like all it has to do is dry out. So at any time I can just, if I had made a mistake, I could chip it off and then just mix it back with water and put it back on. So it's kind of like endlessly recyclable. And as far as the different batches, I definitely liked the middle kind of sand heavy one the best. Up here, I think I should have added more water because it was really sticky and it was sticking to the trowel a lot. And I probably could have added more sand to it, which would have made it go further and could be why there's cracks in this part. As for the bottom, I intentionally made that really wet to kind of be a test against this where I felt like I should have added more water. And I didn't really like working with that. It is also partially because I should have screened it better. Just using my hands wasn't enough. Because the little pebbles that were too small to screen with my hands still caused some issues like trying to get it smooth and stuff. But overall, I really liked it, and I'll definitely be doing more of it in the future. And it's been such a busy time with everything going on in the city and Portugal and the Euros and holidays coming up. I'm pretty sure this video is going to be a little late, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all again next week. Ciao.